Okay. In the last class, we have seen various types of production system. Now, we will see a new topic, that is a product life cycle. So, product life cycle. So, what is a product life cycle? Okay. By the name itself, we can get a clear idea that this is a type of cycle or a life cycle of any product which is developed under any production firm. Okay, so regarding the production life cycle, product life cycle, we know for every product or any services will have a certain life cycle or a particular lifetime. After that, it will or the efficiency will go down, or it deteriorates, or it will be withdrawn from the market in the case of a product or any services. So there will be a certain time period, and what are the main stages? We can even divide the entire life cycle into certain stages like introduction, growth, maturity, decline, that we'll see. So this time interval is termed as the life cycle through which every product will go. Now you can see this is a typical product life cycle. In the x-axis, you can see the time, and y-axis as the sales, amount of sales. So this is a typical model for a product life cycle from the beginning to the end, from the time when the product is first launched into the market, and finally up to the stage where it is withdrawn from the market. Why it is withdrawn? That is, sometimes there will be some competitive products will be available in the market, or the technology may shift, or improved technologies will be there, and the product will become obsolete. So at that point of time, it will be economical to withdraw the product. Otherwise, we will not be getting any profit. Rather, we will be getting only loss. So that is the life cycle. At any point of time, we can see there is a huge growth, or a top maximum value, the golden stages. After that, it will deteriorate, or it will go down. So now, as a whole, we can see we can divide this entire life cycle into 4 stages. That is, first one, introduction stage. Then comes the growth phase. Next, maturity, and finally decline. So we'll see one by one. First one, introduction stage. So what is the introduction stage? That is the initial stage in the product life cycle. That means it is the introduction of the product into the market. So after producing the product or any service, first of all, we introduce this into the market according to the according to the demand only, or the forecasting, based on the forecast, some forecasts and all about the customer taste, available technologies and all. We have designed, we have even planned the production. So after this planning, controlling everything, we have created a final product, finished product, and now we introduce this product into the market. So this initial stage is termed as the introduction stage. So at the introduction stage, when the product is introduced, sales will be low until the customer becomes aware of the product and its benefits. So this initial stage we can see here. Here the volume of sales will be very low because in this stage or in initial stage, these customers will not be available or sorry, may not be aware of the product. They may not be knowing about the product. So what happens is after a while, after seeing advertisements, people will be made aware of the product, then they will start purchasing. So before that, the number of sales will be low. So in the introduction stage, what we can see is that sales will be low. Next, the advertising cost typically are high during this stage. So the introduction stage itself, we have to have a huge cost, or the advertising cost will be there, because in order to cope, or in order to withstand the competitions in the market, because in the market there will be other alternatives also, other products will be there. So if we have to stand in the market, then we have to give more advertisement so that the customers will be knowing about the product. So in the introduction stage, the advertisement is very important. So the cost associated with the advertisement will also be typically high. Now, during the introduction stage, the primary goal is to establish a market and build primary demand for the product class. So the main aim or the objective of this particular stage, that is the primary goal. Primary goal is to establish a market. So first of all, we have to establish a market. Just a minute. Okay. Okay. So the main aim is to establish a market. So in this stage, what we have to do is we have to make aware of the customers more and more, so that our products will be sold. So this is about the first phase, that is the introduction stage. Then comes the growth stage, that is the second stage. You can see here. Here it is going up. So those products that survive the early stages tends to spend longest in this phase. That is, even you can see there are 4 stages. For some of the products, what we can notice is that after the initial stage, that is the introduction stage, decline will be there. Decline stage will be there. That is, after introduction, it directly goes to decline. That means if there is no proper advertising of the product, or if it is not satisfied by the customers, then what we can see is after introducing, no one will purchase, or the amount of sales still will be low, and it will not go to growth or maturity phase, and it directly goes to decline phase. So if the product survive that stages, that is the first stage, initial stage, if it is possible to survive in the market and starts coming up, then it goes to the next stage, that is the growth stage, which is the longest in the phase. So the longest phase in the product life cycle, we can say that it is the growth stage. Here we can see the market is growing to the maximum value. So it is characterized by rapid growth in sales and product. You can see here, there is a rapid growth, exponential growth. there is a rapid growth in the sales and product profits. Then sales increase as more customers becomes aware of the product and its benefits, and additional market segments are targeted. So when more and more customers are aware about the product, then using any media like social medias, advertising medias, notices, etc., or even the customer itself, they will notify it to other relatives, his relatives, friends, or share it with them, so that there will be awareness among the customers. So as the awareness increases, people starts buying more and more, and the sales will also increase. When the sale in the targeted market increases and it becomes a value target, then even additional market segments can be targeted, or we can target other market area also. So finally, what we can see is that there is a much hike in the growth. So this all comes under the growth stage. This is the second phase in the product life cycle. Then after this, if it survives, then it goes to the maturity stage. Maturity stage means the growth occurs. That is, it comes to a maximum value where it comes into a saturation. Further, it will not go. So beyond that, there will be no growth. So there we can say the growth is saturated, or the sales are saturated, and it will go in a constant manner. ഏകദേശം ഒരു constant ആയിട്ട് പോകുന്നു. That particular stage is the maturity stage. After that, we can see then the demand will decrease. So this is due to the market share taken by the competitor products. So then what happens is, we can say everything, the technologies, even the technology, customer taste, everything will be changing. Nowadays we can see one new app, that is Clubhouse. I think most of us are there. You are there, right? So what we can see is we already have many platforms: WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, etc. Everything has separate features. Now, so in the market, suppose in the market we have a particular demand in that, and WhatsApp is in a huge position, maximum position. But what we can see is, now Clubhouse has arrived into the market, and people starts using it, and they are using or spending their time mostly on this Clubhouse. So the demand of the WhatsApp may be decreasing, but not declined fully, but reduced a small bit. Likewise, even the when the technologies come, or a new technology arrives, what we can see is the demand of the previous products or existing products will decrease. So if we have to compete among them, then we have to change our design according to the latest technologies. So for the previous product, what we can see is, due to the market share taken by the competitors product, that is, if there is a competitive product, we are selling a product A, and if product B is much more competitive, or if it is in the same range of our product, then there will be a competition. So the market share will be taken by them also. So suppose the market needs a 10,000 products, then 5,000 will be from our product, our side, and 5,000 will be from the competitor. So the due to the competitor, it will be distributed. So that is the market share taken by the competitor product. so that it will not grow further. So this is the maturity stage. So this is the most profitable stage. That is the maximum value. Beyond that, there will be no profit. Now, the competitive products may be similar at this point, increasing the difficulty of differentiating the product. So the similar products will be there. Our product and their product will be similar. So the customer will sometimes choose our product, sometimes the other product. And now, after this stage, it goes to the decline stage. This is the final stage. So at the decline stage, more innovative products are introduced to the customer taste have changed, or the customer taste have changed. That is, sometimes more and more innovative products, like the change in the technology or the technical advancements, more innovative products will be introduced, or sometimes the taste of the customer demand may change. So at that time, according to if any product which is available in the market that suits to the customer taste, then it will have the maximum demand, and then the all rest of the products will be or their sales will be reduced. So at the decline stage, eventually sales begin to decline as the market becomes saturated, the product becomes technologically obsolete, or the customer taste changes. So then we can say the demand will reduce, and this point of time we can say this is the decline stage. So these are the 4 stages in any product life cycle. Now, next is the Gantt chart. Gantt chart. This is a type of chart used for mainly tracking the progress of activity. That is, for any production process, we can see many activities are there. Like, for example, drilling operation is there, or phasing operation, or cleaning operation, grinding operation, milling, anything. So there are many activities, and the final product is produced by the combination of these activities, activity A, B, C, D, etc. So what the project engineer or anything like that, or the project manager do is, project manager, he has to optimize the process. Like he have to optimize the time, optimize the cost, everything, not just reducing the time only, or not just reducing the amount only, but as a whole he has to optimize. That is the need of a project manager. So anyway, while doing that, he has to monitor the activities, when an activity starts and when it will be stopped, or either he can shift any activity to some other point of time, so that the total time can be reduced, or how he can prevent the inventories. That means if the product A, suppose in case of any assembly means 2 or more products are assembled to get the final product, right? So in that case, if product A and B jointly forms the final product, in that case, if product A is available in plenty, but B is coming only in a small way, then there will be some inventory for A. So we'll plan accordingly that the inventories can be minimized. Anyway, in order to do these kind of things, what we need is we have to have a proper control over the activities. So in order to have a proper control, then these types of charts will be used so that you can easily verify the activities where it starts and all. Now we can give any name for the chart, but why this chart is named as Gantt? വേറെ ഒരു പേരും കിട്ടാത്ത പോലെ. വേറൊന്നുമല്ല, ഇത് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച അണ്ണൻ്റെ പേരാണ് ഗണ്ട്, ഹെൻറി എൽ ഗണ്ട്. So this is developed by Henry L. Gund during World War I. Whatever may be the history. So it shows the relationship of the activities on a time scale. So there is a time scale that is after 1 day, or in the terms of hours or days, anything. After this particular time, what is happening? This can be easily identified using this chart. Now we will see the figure, then you will get a more idea. So these are ideal for tracking the progress of the activities. So how much it is progressed, activity A is progressed, whether it is finished or product when the activity starts. Okay, so product activity A is starting from the initial stage. After 2 minutes, B also starts. A and B are all working in the same time. It is going parallelly. B stopped after 3 minutes, like that. Anyway, the number of days actually required to complete a task that reaches a milestone can be compared with the planned or estimated number. So according to our plan or our estimation, whether it is satisfying or not, we will be able to analyze it. So this is a type of Gantt chart. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 activities. Activity A, activity B, activity C, activity D, activity E, activity F, and activity G. And the x-axis you can see the time 10, 20, etc. in terms of anything, maybe days or hours. Let us say this is hours. So we can see that is for activity A starts from the beginning, and after it is finished after 25 hours. So after 25 hours, A is finished. B also starts from the same time, but it got finished after 20 minutes. Now, regarding the activity C, activity C is started only after 5 hours, and it is finished in 30 hours, after 30, like this. So comparing this, we can see at this particular time, that is from 0 to 5, A and B is functional. Then after that, we can see these 3 activities are parallelly working, A, B, and C, till this point. After that, this 4 is there, like that we can see. Now you can adjust, like if this D, activity D is shifted to left, then you can see there will be a gap here. Then we can even shift this to, that is F and G, towards the left, so that the total time can be changed. Likewise, you can adjust. So first of all, you have to see the process, the total process, and you can draw the Gantt chart like this. Then you can analyze which is the longest process, or there we can crash the activity. Crashing, we have already sometimes you have learned CPM, PRT and all. Crashing of an activity. Crashing of an activity means in the production process there will be many processes, duration will be there. In that, the activity which is having the maximum time, or the activity taking the maximum time, will be reduced. That is a crashing. So likewise, you can do the analysis in the activities using this Gantt chart. So this is the Gantt chart. So this essentially consists of two coordinates. The horizontal represents the time elapsed and the vertical represents the job or activities performed. So the x-axis gives the time, and y-axis, in the y-axis we can see the individual jobs. The job and activities or activities are shown in the form of bars. It is shown the form of bars. You have seen these are the jobs A, B, C, D, etc. The length of the bar shows the time and the job or activity takes for completion. Simple thing. That the length is proportional to the time. Mostly in every project, some jobs are taken up concurrently and some are to be completed before other can begin. So like this, there are many constraints. There is some jobs are taken up concurrently. Some jobs can be done in a parallel manner. Or sometimes if one activity is going on, then the other activity cannot be done. Like in the case of our labs, suppose okay, material testing lab and fluid mechanics lab can run parallelly, because the lab staffs engaged from for them are different. That is, Balakrishnan sir will be taking material testing lab, and Joshi sir will be taking class for the FM lab. Suppose in the case if we need a workshop and production lab together, it may not be possible, because in the both the labs Preman sir is engaging. So Preman sir രണ്ട് കഷ്ണമാക്കേണ്ടി വരും. So it is not possible. So we have to plan accordingly. So these types of activities can be planned using Gantt chart. Now, hence some of the bars run parallel or overlap each other and other time-wise, and some unserially with one bar beginning after the other ends. So അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയാണ് ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലത്തെ പാറ്റേൺസ് നമുക്ക് കിട്ടുക. Okay. So this is about the Gantt chart. Now we'll have some basic introduction about the inventory control. Now we are left with two topics, that is inventory control and inventory models. This we will have some basic introduction. So inventory control. So what is an inventory? എന്താണ് ഇൻവെന്ററി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്? നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഓൾറെഡി പറഞ്ഞു. ഓക്കെ, ഇൻവെന്ററി എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ എന്താണ്? റിലേറ്റിംഗ് ടു സ്റ്റോക്ക് അല്ലേ? ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് മെയിൻലി ദ ഗുഡ്സ് ആൻഡ് മെറ്റീരിയൽസ് which is available in the stock. And what is the peculiarity of that? That it is remaining idle. വെറുതെ ഇരിക്കുകയായിരിക്കും അല്ലേ? പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒരു പണിയില്ലാണ്ട് ചുമ്മാ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. നമുക്ക് ഈ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ ഫീൽഡിലൊക്കെ ഫ്രീ പൂളിലിരിക്കുക എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒരു പണിയില്ലാണ്ട് ചുമ്മാ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. അതിനാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്താ പറയുക, ഇൻവെൻട്രി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒരു ഗുണമില്ല, നഷ്ടം മാത്രമാണ്. അതിങ്ങനെ കൂട്ടി വെക്കുന്നതുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് കുറച്ച് പൈസയ്ക്ക് നഷ്ടം വരും. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ ഇൻവെൻട്രി. അപ്പോൾ ഇൻവെൻട്രി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു മോശം സാധനമാണോ? അല്ല. because it is needed. Suppose we have a urgent demand for the product, then we should take from the inventory or the stock. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കത് ഒരു എന്താ ഫ്രിക്ഷൻ്റെ കാര്യം പണ്ട് ഫിസിക്സിൽ പഠിച്ച പോലെ നെസസറി ഈവിൾ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ അപ്പോൾ ആവശ്യമുള്ളൊരു ചെകുത്താനാണ് ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഇൻവെൻട്രി. എനിവേ വി ഹാവ് ടു കൺട്രോൾ ഇറ്റ്, അതർവൈസ് നമ്മുടെ കയ്യിലിരിക്കില്ല അല്ലേ, വെറുതെ പൈസ പോവും. സോ we have to control the inventory. So we will see what are the controlling measures, how to control the inventory and types of inventory, importance of inventory, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കുറച്ച് ടേംസും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. So inventory, what is an inventory? Inventory refers to the goods and materials held available in the stock by a business which though remains idle in a store. So this is actually the goods and materials which is available in the stock which remains idle in a store. This is termed as the inventory. Now it is actually money kept in a store in the shape of mild steel rod, mild milling cutting or welding electrodes, etc. That means this is the money value. We are converting the stock into money value. That is the inventory. Inventory refers to the money value, mainly the money value. So the money value which is transferred to the that is in terms of money value, in the terms of these types of things, that is mild steel rod, milling cutter, anything which is kept in the stock. Now inventory includes tools required for manufacturing, raw materials, goods in process, and also finished goods. That is, these are all types of inventories that we will see later. That is even the tools. Suppose in manufacturing a product, we have many tools, tool 1, tool 2, tool 3, tool 4, etc., etc. At a time we are using sometimes 1 or 2 tools, and the rest will be kept as inventory. Then regarding the raw materials, for a product we are not using the whole raw materials at a time. One by one we are using. So the whichever raw materials are not using at the present moment will be kept as inventory. And regarding the goods in process, that is in case of assembly and all, the product is not finally finished. There is a semi-finished goods, or we can say 80% machined material. It is coming to a particular point where it needs an additional item to assemble, then only it becomes a final product. So as the other product comes late, then it will be stored somewhere. That is, this is a semi-finished goods. Sometimes the goods are produced finally, or the final product is developed. It is not sailed, so it will be kept in the godown. That is the finished goods. So this all comes under the inventory. Now inventory control. What is the control of inventory? Inventory control is the systematic storage and recording of goods in such a way that the desired goods can be made to the operating shops at minimum ultimate cost. So this is the mainly what we say about the stock itself. That is, it is a systematic storage. So we are systematically storing the products or goods, anything, any type of products, like mentioned earlier. The systematic storage and recording of goods in such a way that the desired goods can be made to the operating shops at the minimum ultimate cost. So by minimizing the cost, we can be able to give the desired goods. That is not maximum value. That is, There is the control of inventory. We can have the inventory. If without inventory, we will not be able to give the products to the demand. In case of any demand of the product, usually we have to have a inventory, but we have to optimize the cost. In order to have, or in order to optimize the cost, minimize the cost, we should have some control over the inventory. That is the inventory control. So it is necessary to hold inventories of various kinds to act as a buffer between the supply and demand for efficient operation of a system. So for the operation to be efficient, there should be a buffer between the supply and demand. That means whenever there is a demand, then we will be able to supply it. So according to the demand, we have to supply. So if the demand is 10, then we should have at least 10 products. And if the demand is 10 and we have the stock as 1000, then it is wastage, or the inventory cost is much. So we have to control it. Then, so okay. Thus, an effective control of the inventory is a must for smooth and efficient running of the production cycle with least interruptions. So if there is according to the demand, if the supply is possible, then we can say there is no interruptions at all. So minimizing the interruption, minimizing the cost, how we can have the control over the inventory. There is an inventory control. Now, these are the types of inventories we have already discussed. That is, the first case is raw materials. Raw materials can be a type of inventory. So which all raw materials are there? We may not be using the whole raw materials at a time. So some of the raw materials will be kept as inventory. Next, in the case of work in process. Work in process means the semi-finished goods mainly. So in the case of assembly and all, then the semi-finished, unfinished products may be there. So they should be kept in inventory. The third case is the finished goods itself. After finishing, it is not going for sale, or the demand is not more, then some of the goods will be, finished goods will be kept as inventory. So those goods. Next, goods for resale. That is, sometimes some of the after saving, some of the goods will be returned due to any reason. So maybe for repair, or sometimes they may not require that much amount. So it will be, some of the parts will be returned. So these returned goods has to be resold. So before reselling, it should go to some inventory. And finally, the spare parts. There will be spare parts available in case of any maintenance. So this will be also kept as inventory. So these are the main types of inventories. There is raw material, work in process, finished goods, goods for resale, and spare parts. Now, the objectives. So these are the objectives of inventory control. So we'll have objectives, importance, etc. So that I think we can see in the next class.